friends, this is Pranav hosting this channel Connect Talks, an initiative by L&D Global Mumbai chapter in collaboration with Pragati Software Solutions, a space for co-working. Location courtesy Zoom Start India. Today we have Mr. Hariharan Iyer, an ENT trainer, has over 30 plus years of experience into training and public speaking. An entrepreneur and author too. He has also been a Reiki Grandmaster and awarded as Karmavir Chakra by iCongo for contribution towards Reiki and training. He'll be touching few points on his signature program entitled as Speak2Conquer Public Speaking Program. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. It is absolutely an honor for me to have been invited to speak on this forum and share about my Speak2Conquer. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Welcome, sir.
And my journey with Speak2Conquer actually goes back 30 years, which is very interesting because it was 1987.
Okay.
And that was a time when India was in a very different, it was a very different kind of a country.
Absolutely.
Right? And my brother and me used to attend public speaking course at that point.
Okay.
So we used to travel from Mulund, where we used to stay, to Ghatkopar to attend a public speaking course way back in 1987. And that used to be a spread out course.
Okay.
Unlike now, what I have designed is a one-day program.
Okay.
But that used to be for a few weeks,
Oh.
once a week on every Sunday.
Okay.
And very interestingly, that was the time when Doordarshan used to show Mahabharat and Ramayana serials.
DD1.
Yeah, so and very limited channels at those point in those days.
Exactly.
And the whole country, the roads used to be completely deserted.
Okay.
So there used to be absolutely nobody on the road, and I'm even told that marriages used to be rescheduled because
Okay.
people wanted to watch those epic serials. And we used to sacrifice that, and we used to go all the way to Ghatkopar.
Okay, for public speaking.
To learn public speaking.
Wow.
And I'm very thankful to my brother because he pushed me into that course.
Okay.
He did it first, and then I did it, and then we used to go together for some common sessions that we used to have.
Okay.
And I used to be a very shy boy as a child. Of course, now my wife has a tough time making me shut up, but
Okay.
those days you had to give me money to make me speak. So I grew up as a very shy child.
Okay.
But of course, by the time I learned public speaking, I'd opened up quite a bit. But the moment I learned public speaking, my whole life changed because I got transformed from whatever little shyness was there. Though I still believe I am by nature a little introverted, but I can present myself with a great level of confidence in front of a crowd.
That's wonderful.
So that changed my life. And I was so inspired by learning public speaking that within a few months I started teaching it myself.
Okay.
So while I was still in college.
Okay.
So I started conducting classes, and I have trained some of my classmates,
Okay.
both in college as well as university.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And, but life drifted on from
Okay.
there on,
Okay.
and I took to journalism as a career.
Okay.
And then
Your career is in the
yeah, I
journalism.
started actually my career as a journalist, even though public speaking was the foundation of my training career later on.
Okay.
So 6 years I worked as a journalist because I'm basically a postgraduate in political science from Bombay University. And I wanted to be a lecturer like my mom. She was a school teacher, so I thought I'll also be a college lecturer. But I didn't enjoy it. So I thought journalism was my backup profession. So I went into journalism for 6 years. And in 2001, I realized that I am missing training, I'm missing classroom, I'm missing people,
Oh.
I'm missing the idea of standing and talking in front of a crowd.
Okay.
So that's the time I took a conscious decision to leave journalism and get back into training. And so my first job that I did was with a company called as IMS,
Okay.
which is into management entrance coaching. I got a break as a training manager with them.
Okay.
And one of the first things I did there was teach public speaking to my colleagues.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
so that was something I realized that I had this great passion to speak and this great passion to teach speaking.
So how did you manage to come up with this signature program called Speak2Conquer?
Yeah, so then what happened was from IMS I moved into then I became a typical corporate wala.
Okay.
So I was in a corporate and I was working and I grew in my profession. So
Okay.
I left IMS in 2003 and then I joined Max New York Life Insurance
Okay.
as a branch sales trainer, branch sales training manager.
Okay.
And from there I became senior sales training manager, then I became regional training head, zonal training head. So all this while, I used to teach public speaking off and on, but
Okay.
it was not a regular affair with me because I was in the corporate and I had a career to manage it.
Okay.
In 2009, I left and I became a training entrepreneur, and then I started doing a lot of freelance training.
Okay.
And some time back, I just started to realize that there is one great gift that God has given me, which is the ability to speak. While I'm doing a lot of speaking myself, but I'm not creating speakers.
Okay.
So that is when I thought, let's take this up like a mission and try and do something around creating speakers.
Okay.
Now, from the time I learned public speaking in 1987 and now we're talking in 2018, the country has completely changed.
Exactly.
And to be very honest, people who learn public speaking today are much smarter. And they can pick up the skill much faster than we did. We had to be given few weeks because we had very little options in life. So,
Exactly.
And we were playing test match cricket at that point of time.
Oh.
Now it's T20 generation. So today the challenge is how do you get people to even enroll for a one-day program? So
Exactly.
forget about enrolling them for
A longer program.
a longer program. So I thought let's begin somewhere.
Okay.
And let's launch a one-day program. So that's where the genesis of Speak2Conquer happened.
Okay.
So, to be very honest, yes, the content is what any public speaker would teach you.
Correct.
But the idea is, how do you use speaking as a skill to conquer fear
Okay.
and to conquer lack of self-confidence
Okay.
and to just floor the audience with your ability to communicate,
All right.
in front of a crowd. Because this is one of the finest skills that you can ever possess in your life.
Oh.
I remember that one of your earlier interviews was with a gentleman who was into employability skills.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think this is a great employability skill because
Okay.
you see a lot of students today, or you see a lot of professionals also today, they are great one-to-one communicators, but the moment you put them in front of a crowd, they don't seem to be as good as they are one-to-one, which is absolutely normal and very, very natural. Why it is a great skill is because research shows that people fear public speaking even more than death. So people are okay to die because anyway it's inevitable, but people are not okay to get embarrassed in front of a crowd. So
Absolutely
that's what I
correct.
thought, that today in the context of our country where there is a lot of skill development challenge, there's
Exactly.
a lot of skill gap today in our nation.
Exactly.
I realize that this is one area where I can contribute, where I can actually plug a skill. I can fill in a gap there,
Okay.
and give people the ability to speak in public,
Okay.
which is an incredible skill to possess. While you require a lot of other skills also, which like your functional skills or your behavioral skills, but if you are a good speaker, then you have surmounted one of the greatest fears in life.
Wow.
So you don't necessarily need to be a speaker professionally to learn public speaking. You can learn public speaking as a part of your personality development.
Okay.
You can simply learn public speaking because that's going to do good to your self-development. And
Okay.
we do different things to develop ourselves. We do art courses, we do singing courses, we read, we get into some other kind of courses. So public speaking is one course which actually it completely transforms you from within because you start believing in more in yourself.
Oh. Okay.
And just imagine if I can hold an audience for 5 minutes, it's an incredible thing to do in today's time.
Absolutely right. For a public speaker.
Absolutely, it's an incredible thing to do because today people's attention spans are extremely poor.
Oh.
Earlier we were very tolerant. So again, I'm going back to my days as a student of public speaking, 1987. People are ready to forgive you if you are not so good in the beginning because it's test match cricket, right?
Exactly.
So you take your time and you build it. Like I'm told that the movie Sholay, which is an iconic film, did not do very well in the first couple of weeks
Okay.
or so. Today a movie doesn't get that kind of an opportunity. It's alive or dead, or it's a hit or a flop after day one.
Yeah.
So so the world has totally changed.
Okay.
So if in such a time somebody gets a skill where he can actually hold an audience for 5 minutes through a speech, and what to say of people who have to be guest speakers and speak for 1 hour, and just imagine the power that you hold over an audience whose mind is extremely distracted in today's mind. And if you come to Speak to Conquer, I share with people those techniques which will help them to hold audiences not just for 5 minutes. It could be for 30 minutes, it could be for 2 hours.
Wow.
Because I myself have been on stage talking for about 2 hours, which is an incredible thing to do. It's not incredible that I can speak for 2 hours, because I love my voice, I can speak for 2 hours. But the fact that you can hold an audience for 2 hours, even today, it's possible.
Okay, so could you just share a few pointers so that the viewers can actually benefit out of these pointers as well?
Yes. So the fundamental question is it an art or a science?
Okay.
I strongly believe that art is really only very little in people.
Okay.
Most of it
that's
is
called
science.
talent.
Yeah, that's talent, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's the right word. So we have some talent which we are all born with, but that doesn't help you to become successful in life.
Okay.
It gives you a start.
Okay.
But what really helps you to become more successful in life is a structured way of doing certain things.
Okay.
So I know a lot of speakers who have never attended a public speaking course, and they are good speakers.
Okay.
And they may be even better than the trained speakers.
Oh.
It's like Kishore Kumar. He was not a trained classical singer, but
Okay.
he could give a run for a very well-trained speaker's money also.
Correct.
But then how many Kishore Kumars do we have? And it's important to understand that even Kishore Kumar was eventually trained in an informal way by his music directors. So it is not that he also became great simply without any training. Nobody can do that.
Exactly.
So your talent is minimal. So it's more of a science.
Okay.
You know, if there is a certain talent, it's great. It's a leverage for you. But if you don't have any great talent, you can still be a great speaker, because nobody is a born speaker.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Nobody is a
Absolutely.
born chartered accountant.
Exactly.
You know?
Everybody's made.
Nobody is a born pilot. You have to learn. You have to learn to fly a plane.
Exactly.
So similarly, you can learn to be a speaker.
Okay.
And there are some amazing instances of people who are extremely shy, couldn't speak, have gone on to become great speakers themselves. From ordinary people who don't have the courage to speak even to their dad or their mom, but they can actually take stage and and they can floor the audience.
Wow.
And so we share different techniques.
Okay.
On the lighter side, I can only say that if you ask me how to speak to my wife, I don't have a solution for that. Okay?
That's the toughest, and that's actually a challenging one.
I don't have a solution there, and I don't know how many married men can give a solution.
I was married to
So we share certain techniques in terms of overcoming stage fright.
Okay.
How do you stand?
Okay.
What should be your posture?
Okay.
How do you use gestures? We can see in this whole interview also, I'm using a lot of my
Exactly.
hands.
Correct.
Very naturally.
Correct.
But you will find a lot of speakers who are not trained, they don't use their hands
Use
so
their
well.
hands, yeah.
It's-
Body movement is
Exactly.
actually
It's
the part
important.
of it.
It's
Yeah.
important. It's how your eye contact should be. It's how your voice should be. How do you modulate? And how do you gesture? And how do you plan your content? How do you prepare your content? How do you deliver it? So at the end of the day, it's not. Of course, it's important what I say, but it's more important how I say it.
Okay.
That is far more important. How I
Correct.
say it. So how you say it has got again certain.
That comes in
ways
the
in which-
presentation skills basically.
Yeah, so presentation skills has 2 parts.
Okay.
One is what you speak is a presentation.
Ah.
Second, now you have PowerPoint also. So there is a
Okay.
science to using
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint also. A lot of speakers, they rely so much on the PowerPoint that the PowerPoint overshadows them.
Okay.
The idea is not that you get overshadowed by the PowerPoint is an enabler of it. So,
Okay.
so the fundamentals still remain the same. How do you stand? How do you present? How do you speak? How should be your eye contact?
Okay.
How should your speech be structured? How do you begin? How do you close? It's like a movie.
Okay.
So there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there is an end.
End, yeah,
so
correct.
so how do you begin? How do you put in the masala in
Masala
between?
in between.
And then how do you close?
Okay.
You-
How do you serve the dish?
How do you serve the dish at the end of the day? And different speakers will have their own style. Some of them, like in my case, I feel I have a bit of a humorous style,
Okay.
which works well.
Okay.
But if you don't use it carefully, it can backfire.
Oh.
But some of them may not have a gift for humor, which is absolutely fine. Because the idea is to hold the audience in whichever way you think is appropriate for you.
Wow.
You know, and you can use different techniques. And the best way, actually, the best way, which is what we teach in the Speak2Conquer program is, and we also evaluate people on whether they're doing that or not. The best way to hold an audience is to tell them stories.
Storytellers.
Absolutely. So you create as many stories as you can. People respond to stories, not to theories.
Exactly. I start my presentations with stories.
Absolutely. So that's how you see I started my presentation here today. I went back to 1987. I spoke about my context and the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and all that. Because a story is something which helps people to stay awake. Like I always tell that mothers tell stories to their children to put them to sleep. Speakers should tell stories to keep the audiences awake. You know, and it's extremely important that if you want to make a point, you connect it to a story and make the point.
Okay.
So I say that India is a great country. Now that's theory. So, but how is India a great country?
Exactly.
So India is a great country because of this one experience I had when I went to somebody's house to have lunch.
Okay.
And I come from a different community, and I went to, I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
So I went to this person's place and I had a great lunch.
Okay.
Okay, let me give you a real life example. I am a Tambram Iyer, Tamil Brahmin Iyer, and I'm married to a Sindhi. So we have totally two different cultural traditions.
Exactly.
Of course, now it's all got mixed up very well because we married for more than 22 years.
Okay.
So now it seems like second nature. But when we got married, whatever was right for me was not right for the Sindhis.
Yeah,
and whatever is the right dish for me was not the right dish for them.
Exactly.
So the cultures are very different. So when I share this story with people about cultures and I say that, you know, how a Sindhi culture and a Tamil culture came together and how it's made life so beautiful, then I can correlate that by saying India is such a great country with so much diversity.
Okay.
In fact, I want to take the opportunity to also say that so this marriage of mine has produced a book called as More Than Just Papad, which is my first fiction, my first novel, where I talk about this intercultural exchange.
Okay.
While it's a fictional love story and with the usual drama around it and all that, but it's also a book on culture. So what kind of food appeals to a South Indian does not appeal to a Sindhi, for example, or vice versa, and what we believe in and what they don't believe in. So if I want to say India is a great country, then I can talk about a story which I am myself part of.
Okay.
So I can talk about
self-experience.
I can talk about my own experience, or I can talk about an experience of somebody I know who has experienced the greatness of India through his cultural diversity.
Okay.
You know, through his experience of cultural diversity. So always say a story, then make a point, rather than just rather than just keeping on making a series of points which nobody is going to relate to. Because people don't. The brain somewhere scientifically is not wired to theories, to absorbing theories. While it will intellectualize it, it will understand it, it will not get connected with. But people somehow, they just connect to stories.
Thank you for the wonderful point out here, Hari sir. I have some few questions with me.
Sure.
First question is, why should I learn public speaking when I don't need to give speeches?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Because a lot of people ask me the same, that I'm not a professional speaker, why should I learn public speaking?
Okay.
I think, as I said, it's a great personality development tool.
Okay.
It's a great tool to develop your own self. And what is better than overcoming your inhibitions by talking in front of a crowd? And once you learn that skill, you can use it whenever you get an opportunity to do that. But just attending the course will help you to overcome that inhibition and overcome stage fright and build your self-confidence.
All right.
And for all you know, you might feel excited about becoming a professional speaker later.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Second question that I have is, what kind of professionals can benefit from public speaking?
I think it's a must for anybody who's managing teams.
Okay.
So any person who's in a managerial position, anybody who's a leader, definitely must have this skill
of public speaking.
Absolutely, because they are there to inspire the people.
Exactly.
And if you see, some great events in history have happened because of great speeches by great speakers.
Perfect.
And so it's very important that leadership also encompasses public speaking as an essential trait and
Okay.
a skill. And I
Exactly.
find a lot of managers, they can't do that so well. So, but if they learn to do that, they are able to get the job done in a much better way.
All right, all right. So you mean to say that leaders, yeah, I understand that leaders should have the ability to
Right.
speak in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
Uh, obviously, now you said that wonderful point that every manager or every leader, but is it a compulsion?
Yeah, nothing is a compulsion. So it is just that it's an icing on the cake.
Oh,
And
so that could be an advantage.
it's a huge advantage. It's
Okay.
not just an advantage. I think it's a huge advantage.
Okay.
Now, especially when you look at sales teams, for example,
Huh.
who need a lot of motivation. Where will the motivation come from? It has to come from the leader himself.
Exactly.
So if the leader has that skill to speak and motivate people,
Okay.
he's actually doing a great service to his own business targets.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Hari sir. That was a good point. The next question that I have is, what are the elements that make a good speaker? Any pointers that you can mention to the viewers?
I think the first thing is, if you want to be a good speaker, you should want to be a good speaker. It's all about the desire to want to speak well. It's about the desire to take center stage and have the confidence to deliver. And it's all about the burning desire to succeed. Second is, I think you've got to be a good reader. When you read a lot, you get a lot of content. When you get a lot of content, you get a lot of perspective. And speakers need to provide that sense of perspective. Third is observation skills. So the more you look around yourself and you observe a lot of behaviors and cultures and perspectives, you will be able to frame those content and present them in a nice form. But the last thing, I think the most important element to be a good speaker is to be a good listener. Unless you listen well, you cannot be a good speaker.
Thank you. That was really amazing by your side, Hari sir. I could just ask last point to conclude this entire conversation and the interview. How could you do that?
I would say that it's a great skill to possess. And I think if you are able to acquire a skill which is seen to be something which is even more fearful than dying,
Oh,
and I think you should just be kind of lapping at, and going and learning it.
okay.
Secondly, nobody is a born speaker.
Exactly.
You can learn everything.
Everything.
And one of the most important things to overcoming stage fright is to understand that the audience actually wants you to do well.
Okay.
They don't want you to fail.
Correct.
So where is the fear coming there?
Oh,
So people fear because they think the audience is out there to throw tomatoes at me.
exactly.
No,
Correct.
it is not
No,
like that.
it is not like
The
that.
audience does not have time listening to bad speeches. So they want you to do well. So if when you have the confidence that the audience is with you, that is half the battle is won.
Wow.
The remaining we will help you with the technique and the process of becoming a good speaker. But it's all about, in the end, the 3 P's.
Okay.
It's about practice, practice,
And practice. Thank you so much, Hari sir. That was really wonderful that you gave all this crisp information about public speaking. Obviously, I will share it with my circle too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, viewers, for watching Connect Talks, an initiative by L&D Global Mumbai chapter in collaboration with Pragati Software Solution, location courtesy Zoom Start India. Hope to see you connected again. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share.